If you're just rolling in, we'll get started in about 5 minutes or so. I'm just giving everybody time to get here and get settled. And we're kind of watching quiet trade up until then. Let's see.
Good morning.
Oh, there you are. I was just going to go to the pit and post that we were here. Welcome.
The new login sign-ins required process adds an extra step. So
okay, cool. So I was just telling everybody I'll do an introduction in a few minutes when we get a little closer to the announcement. It's we had a nice drop a little while ago. Let me minimize this and we can zoom out just a bit here. I'm going to go out to 10 minutes. That'll give us a good, just kind of bird's eye view of the overnight. We had this big move up, obviously, on earnings after the close. And then we drifted and drifted and drifted. And early this morning started selling off from 4,500. And then, a little bit of buying at the lows, people covering from being short, I suspect, getting out of the way of the announcement. But beyond that, it's been nice and quiet. So it's good. It's a good setup for a news announcement. If you're a guest here, I will once again introduce everything in just a minute. The TRG folks have seen this before. For these type of news announcements, the key is the reaction. We don't care what the number is; it's how the market reacts to it, and it's price discovery. So you don't want to just be trying to stake out price levels. You really want to let the market price discover, maybe test the extremes, and those are good spots to play. They're asymmetric. If you're wrong, you're wrong really fast. So that's what we'll be looking for again for this particular session anyway. And again, I will go into a little bit more detail about that in just a minute. If you have any questions about anything, text chat, open that up, stick them in there. I will endeavor to answer them along the way. Co-hosting with me is our community manager, JVC, and
hello.
He can help you out too, and you will hear him occasionally. So this is a fun session. I do these for the members of TRG because sometimes you get a really, really good opportunity at an extreme, and otherwise it's just a good learning experience about understanding how the market trades and how the auction works and why prices change and why price moves and why it moves aggressively sometimes and other times doesn't. So anyway, this particular situation is really about, catching an extreme. And we're kind of in the middle here, which again, I'll talk about in a minute in more detail. But if I kind of compress together this 1 minute here, you can see that's the volume profile from the whole session. In the Globex, and we're kind of all over the place. We're in the middle of the low end of it at the moment, and kind of in a low volume node between two high volume nodes. So, from a volume profile point of view, it's got a lot of different places it could go, and then they would all make sense. So we kind of have to let it do that and see how different levels interact with the price and the order flow. So. Anyway, let's see, what time is it? 5:20. We'll get a couple more minutes, and then I'll do a real quick introduction so I don't have to repeat it. I know a bunch of people are going to roll in closer to the announcement. Let's see, there's 20 here so far. We have 41 registered, so I'm not sure, a lot of people might not show up live, but again, I'm going to try to introduce everything just once, and we will do that, in about 4 minutes my time. So sit tight. If you need to go get a cup of coffee, this is a good time to do it. I'll briefly talk about what's on my screens when I do that too. For this session, if you're a guest, I can try to answer questions like that. That's the purpose of having the public and having guests, but time permitting. So if you have questions, by all means, stick them in the chat. I will try to talk to them. I will explain what's on my screen and what we're trying to do to take advantage of the NFP number when it hits. And again, really important to understand, I don't care at all what the number is. I don't care what the expectation for the number is. None of that matters. The only thing that matters is what the reaction to the number is. So important point. I see a lot of new traders try to game the number. If it's good, we'll go to here. If it's bad, it doesn't work like that. There's so many variables. You can't possibly predict price movement. Don't even try. So anyway, I'm Jeff. I am one of the co-founders of TRG, Trading Research Group. I've been trading since 1973. So in about a month or so, 50 years of trading.
So you are officially an old fart.
Oh, I'm definitely an old fart. I'm young. I'm a young old fart, though.
Okay.
As you guys all know, I'm very high energy old fart. So
I'll be joining you shortly, and you're not that far ahead of me. So,
and I exploited my youth. I raced motorcycles. I raced cars. I crashed a lot. I got to do all the extreme stuff that we get to do when our bodies are resilient. So I have no complaints. All right, another 2 minutes and we'll do an intro of this particular trading setup and what we're going to look for and whether or not we'll take it under what conditions and what all the stuff on my screen is. I will do that in just a minute if you're just joining us. Just want to let everybody get here so that we don't have to do it more than once. If you have questions about TRG, JVC is here and can answer those. He's our community manager.
Absolutely. Throw them my way or put them public. Either way, I'll keep an eye on the chat.
You know what you could do for me, JVC, if you want to throw a link into the free tick maker stuff, that it's background about some of the things I'm going to talk about, and I won't have time to explain them. For example, I'll give you one right now as we're waiting to get started. If you look at the profile of the Globex session, we have unfinished business at the low of ES. And so what is that down? Just about 54-ish, just above 54. And that's significant as we get going. It's significant from the point of view of this trade setup in that that's an extreme that may not be done going down yet. So if we head that way, that could get very interesting. It also, was a fairly significant reversal off of that same level. So, here's the low there. And then this is what we call a price rejector. We kind of had absorption and aggression at the low, and that pushed us up. We swept through what we call zero prints, which was basically sweeping the book at that level. We're right back on that level now. And, so this is a really, really good setup for price discovery. So that means the market's going to try to figure out what agreed value is. And when that's happening, the first thing you should do is not rush to trade it. It's difficult to trade. And when you get an opportunity, it should be asymmetric. You should be able to look at it and just say, okay, this is going to work or it's not right here. And as a scalper, I have kind of 3 rules. One of them is good trades work right away. If the trade I'm in isn't working, I'm either early or late, but it's not working right now, and that's what matters. Number 2, always take profits, because you can have a trade in profit that reverses really fast, particularly under these conditions that we've had recently. And so, you never go broke when your equity curve goes up, even if it's only, a tick at a time. In the ES, that's fine. Pay the commission, you still got $8. That's a good margin. That's better than a lot of businesses out there. Certainly better than a lot of the ones getting crushed in the COVID impact. So anyway, and the last one, good trades work right away. Always take profits and don't lose money. And people get confused by what I mean by that. No big losers. If you're scalping, you just can't afford big losers. So I try to keep my average MAE for my trades, how far they go against me at 6 ticks or less. In this volatility, that's pretty hard. But it's a good objective. I don't use stops at 6 ticks necessarily, depending on the kind of setup I'm trading. I tend to use discretion, and if the setup's not working, just get flat. But if we get bound in a range, then there might be some opportunities to trade much tighter, in which case I would put a trade on and immediately put on a bracket with it. So let's see real quickly. What you're seeing on my screen, the left right now is a 30-minute profile footprint. You're seeing both the current volume of the current bar and the Globex volume. And as I mentioned, there's unfinished business at the low. JVC just put a link in the chat if you want to learn what that means. Basically, that auction probably isn't done yet, although we're not anywhere near it right now, so it's not relevant to the moment. The other thing you're seeing in the middle is just a 1-minute footprint, and this is just the deltas. So if the trades are going by on the ask side, it's painting them blue. If they're going by on the bid side, it's painting them this pink or red, depending on which tool we're looking at. And I'm literally just looking at the momentum of the auction at any given moment. Like right now, you can see we've had some good aggression. We're trading at the ask and price is getting lifted. That's the definition of a price going up. And it will do that till it stops. And that's the key again. Scalping for my style is really very simple. And let me just explain what I do this way. I'm looking for, if I can't define a direction, which way are we going? If we're in a tight range, just ebbing and flowing, then that's a different type of scalp. But I'm primarily looking for momentum. And if we have momentum in a direction, how much momentum is there and how is it changing right now? And that's a good example right there as we came down and the delta rolled over. And in other words, trades were no longer getting hit on the bid, but they started to come on the ask, price was lifted, and that's a perfect place to get long. The green and red indicators that are kind of phasing out here, that's a tool from Emoji Trading that's called a price rejector. You don't need it to do what I do. What it does is just visualize it real well. If I just hide that, you can get a sense that the spots are still pretty visible. That just really emphasizes them for me. And then the other thing that it's doing is it's adding up previous supply and demand in something called an emoji zone. So again, I'm not here to sell you an indicator or anything. You can trade just fine without that. What it does is just gives you a quick visual of the supply and demand. This is not, repeat, not support and resistance. That is not in our vocabulary at TRG because that's nonsense. Resistance is only resistance until somebody trades through it. So it's about supply and demand at different price levels, and you can see that in the volume at price, which is what's over here on the right. And so, for example, there's a large area there that a passive seller is selling at, and we're below it right now. So that's the kind of stuff we look at. I'm not going to go into a lot of details about it because I'm primarily concerned with the price action. And for that purpose, I look at very, very fast linear regression. And that's what you're seeing over here on the left, the one just to the left of the footprints. That's a 5-second delta bar, same thing. The numbers at the top and the bottom are just wave volume. I'm a Wyckofffian. So if we are making higher highs, like this little blow up here, and higher lows, that's what it's showing me. So pink is higher lows, red is lower lows, bright colored green, higher highs, kind of a faded green, lower highs. And it's just giving me the volume. That's all that number is the volume. And it's a sense of aggression. You should understand a theme here at this point. Everything is about looking at the momentum and the energy of the trade, not necessarily the price, but how it's impacting the price. And that's why I'm really focused on which side of the tape we're trading on. Are we slamming the bid and pushing price down, or are we hitting the ask and the ask is getting lifted? So, the market's getting pulled up. Buyers are pushing us. So that's what we do. Okay. Let's see. I'm just looking at the questions to see if there's any ones. No. Okay. Feel free to interact and chat with the TRG members. If you're one of our guests, there's a bunch of them here too. And we have a bunch of people that have passed combines recently and have funded accounts using a lot of this methodology and a lot of more structural methodology, which the link that we posted there in the chat will take you to some free education on. So anyway, having said that, that's pretty much what we're doing. We have a minute now, so I'm going to reset my domes over here, wipe out all the traded volume up till this point. We'll just leave the volume profile. And then when we get the number, we're going to see price discovery, and there it is. And then we'll see if we can get to an extreme. I will trade this if we get an extreme one way or the other. That's kind of what I like to do. But, it has to be tradable. Right now, it's not. We're exploring down, but we're also, look at that. That's a 16-tick sweep we just had up. So, this is just not tradable. You can't manage your profits, let alone your risk. So what you do is you let it settle a little bit, see if it settles at a spot we might nibble. In TRG, we call those inflection points. Again, the one I really like right here would be that low. Let's have another look at that, where that unfinished business is down there. If it takes that out, that might be an interesting spot to either continue down or maybe nibble for a reversal. So let's watch what happens. We're almost there right now. So I'm going to go back and let you see. If you look on this 5-second view, the second column from the left, You can see, the aggression's really obvious when you watch a fast chart like that or watch the dome. And that's kind of the key to my methodology. I don't believe in the, zoom out to longer time frame stuff. That's useless. There's too many variables. You need to know what's happening right this moment. And at the moment, this looks interesting. I was about to say for a long right down there, and then it popped up. It's still moving around a little bit too much for me to even want to put a position on here, because even if I'm right, I may not have a chance to take profits fast enough. So watching this ledge down here at the lows, that's where the unfinished business is, 54.50, 54.25, depending on which. Oh, by the way, this is the ES on the right. Just to the left of it is just a micro ES, and then NQ, micro NQ, and then RTY and YM. These are the indexes, and I'm watching them all together like this for correlation. We watch both instantaneous correlation, which is what we're seeing right now, and then just, are the indexes correlated in general? I'm watching that on another screen, but you can see NQ is up a fraction and everything else is down. RTY is leading down almost 0.75%, and that's significant because RTY and NQ tend to lead the market one way or another. So RTY is the one second from the left here. So watch its low. It's probably going to take it out, which is probably going to take out our ES low right now. So this is that unfinished business spot. Again, it's an inflection point. It's probably going to go lower. That's typically what we expect. Unfinished business needs to get finished. You could trade the break of that. The problem right now, again, is that we've got price discovery, and locking in profits here could be really tricky. If it quiets down just a touch, I'll go ahead and play it with some micros just so we can have some fun and maybe make a little money, but I'm just going to give it another. Okay, this is the spot right here. Just see if it taps that low and finishes up and cleans up the low, because it wasn't. It didn't quite get there yet. We're watching right here. Also, look right above it. You see that big red number? That's passives buying, probably covering shorts. Okay, here we go. There's the low going right there. So this is the key spot. This might be a great spot to nibble. Either way, nibble, is my word for kind of, I might want 10 lot ultimately, but I'll start with one or two and see if it works or not. So, and still too much movement here to manage risk properly. So I'm going to let it settle just a little bit more. Let me turn on the spotlight thing so you guys can see what I'm pointing at better. There we go. All right, we just finished the business now, and there's a decent low, and we've got a little bit of pushing down. Let's see if that can stay clean down there, and maybe we'll nibble on it. It's also right around 50, which is kind of the big fat middle of the whole number, between 45 and 44. So, okay, it is getting sold. Is it a good short? Yeah. Probably not. It's not. Price is holding here as it's getting sold. That's that kind of absorption. People probably covering shorts here from the push down. So I'm not excited about going either way. It's still exploring down, but notice here. Let's put this one back. Notice the momentum is slowing down, but we are definitely directionally going down. So again, from a scalper's point of view here, my primary idea would be to be short with it, but we just bounced from 46 to 49. Is that manageable risk? Not unless you play micros really loose. You don't want to lose $500 on a 10-point sweep in ES with a one lot. So, this is a good short if you're in it already, or you can get a good spot to stay with it. And that would probably, at the moment, be a retest of 50. And let's look at the profile here and see what's going on. That's another one of those zero prints. In other words, we pushed through that level and swept down. And now, once again, we're trying to form a low here. 6 by 0 at the bottom is a decent bottom if it holds and we get going the other way. So this is potentially a little long spot again. I might just take that trade. All right, there's a long from 48. Let's see if we can catch some ticks. All right, I took 4 ticks there. I'm sorry, I had to do it really fast because it moved on me. But yeah, there's $50. Let's see if we can catch a better entry down here. I'd love to see it push down to 40. If you look on your I'll show it in a second. If you look on a TPO view, that's an interesting spot. So we're just above it. So I'm liking this area to nibble long, but I don't want to get caught offside. So I definitely want to get a good entry. 45 looks interesting right now. Let's see if we can push down and catch it. A lot of the trick to being at the extremes is catching a good entry so that, if you're wrong, it's only a few ticks. So that's what I'm trying to do here. And this is probably too far down, but let's see if this little chunk of volume right here at 46 is a better spot, because that got bought already once. And so I might have to give this a little bit of room to the downside, but it's not going to fill me either. One of the things I tell people all the time in TRG, if you have a limit order on and it's not filling, then you're probably in exactly the right spot, because, the market's not trading aggressively to you. There's probably a lot of people buying down there. And, again, these buyers could be people closing shorts, taking profits. So the bottom could fall out again. Okay, I just got filled at 46.5. Well, let's see if we can just catch 2 points to 48.5. It popped to 47.75. I'm going to probably take profits a little faster. Let's see if we can get 6 this time. God, it's really sweepy tape, though. I definitely don't want to let this go against me. Here we go. Boom. All right, there's another 50. So that's 8 ticks. You can do this all day. The ability to pull this off, however, at an extreme like that diminishes as we get away from the news. This is a specific way of trading economic, quote unquote, news releases. That's what I'm showing you here. And as it gets priced in, which is what's happening, as this price discovery becomes value or not, then that trade is no longer a good idea, because, for example, now the potential for a push down, if we get on this side of the high volume node, right about the spot I bought at, we could push down really hard. And it's consolidating here. And, if you're familiar with the idea of consolidations, they break really hard one way or the other. And the next high volume node is up here at 60. So a long could really work. But if the bottom goes, look out, we could have one of these big drops. And you could get caught in the sweep and end up with 10 points of slippage. So I'm cautious as we get further away. And we're 7 minutes away now. So, this is a good time to kind of let a range develop. So shifting tactics from the idea being, I want to get in extremes, I want to get asymmetric where I'm wrong right away, or I can grab some ticks. And so we did 2 of those. We picked up $100, 8 ticks, cool. Now we have a range developing. So the way to play this becomes different. What we want to do is understand this range. If this holds, then I don't want to do anything. If it starts going above here, that's probably a decent long to the next chunk of volume in the 60s. On the other hand, it's really consolidating right here. So I would be concerned if it broke down here again, the other end of the volume. So that's what I tend to watch. How is the traded volume playing out? Because, the order book tells you what people say they're going to do. And I don't really care what they say they're going to do. I do watch the order book, but I don't have it up on this particular screen at the moment. I really want to see what people are actually doing, because that represents a commitment. The book is one thing, people say they're going to buy here or sell there. There's lots of nonsense that goes on, but traded volume doesn't lie. And as you can see, we're back up right at 60, and we left one high volume node, and now we're at the other one, and it's probably going to fill in here in the middle. And so, this is a big range, and it's not structured enough to trade it. So for the moment, I'm back on the sidelines, sitting on my hands, waiting for either more asymmetry, if we get back down here, or for a really clear range. And this range is just too big. 46 to 60 is too many points to try to play. It doesn't give me any definitive edges to play. And one more time, that's what this 5-second view is about. I'm looking at just a regression of the very, very short-term range, and it just gives me an idea of what's going on. And, we're going up with energy, then we're consolidating, then we're going up a little more. That's a very dangerous spot to be long, because you could get swept down. Again, if you got a good entry, that 46 I had was great. I could have hung on to that more if I wanted. But, rule number 1, always take profits. You don't go broke taking $50 profits every time you trade, and keeping your losers really small. That's the key to this kind of technique. Anyway, that's kind of the NFP number. And, we got about 20 minutes to the top of the hour. I'm going to go about 10 more minutes here. So I'm going to look over to the chat. I wanted to show you guys the TPO view. That's right. So here's what I was talking about. Let me turn on the crosshair. So if this spot right here goes, and that's what I was talking about, that 40, 45 area, then, look out, because it's air below there. The next even low below us is at 07. So that's what I was talking about, how you just don't want to be long down there unless you can be really clear where you're wrong. And that's why, that 45, 46 area was a decent spot to try that. And that's why it worked. That's why I don't want to try it here, because we're back up in the range, and, it could get aggressive either way as it breaks out of that range, and the range is too big to just scalp for ticks. If it was a smaller range, that's something that I would look at to just scalp 3-4 ticks at a time and maybe with a little more size. But it's still in price discovery, and that's just too dangerous right now. One of the things we've been talking about in TRG for the last 2 weeks is that ES is trading like NQ. The book is thinner. There you go. As I said that, we swept from 58.5 to 55.5. So 3 points. We swept 12 ticks in a heartbeat. These red and blue trails you're seeing here are called momentum tails in Jigsaw. This is Jigsaw Day Trader, and it's on 500 milliseconds. So, the 8 ticks in a half a second, guys, that's why you just don't want to stake out a position based on the price level. You have to stake it out based on places where, you can be right and grab some ticks right away, or if you're wrong, it doesn't cost a lot. So, all right, let's see. I'm just looking over here. Hey, Summer, nice to see you. Where have you been? We missed you. It's been quiet without Summer, one of my favorite TRG members. Let's see. I don't see any questions, though. What's my ideal range, Lance? That's a great question. There's a really good video in the library in the scalping workshop from last year about dynamic ranges. And the way that I look at the ranges, like right now, the Globex range for ES is 85 points. So in other words, from the high to the low since we reopened last night, 85 points. So that's pretty big, although, we've had 200 pointers recently. So I'll look at that, and then I'll look at the short-term range. So here, I'm going to reset this dome, and let's watch the short-term range. It's going to make me a new volume profile. So let's see what the highs and lows are after a minute or two here. And if that is a decent small percentage of the big range, then that's a good opportunity as long as it doesn't break out of that. So it gives you a real binary. So for example, right now, it looks like we're trading 52 to 55. That's the quarters. That's typical. The quarters, if you hear me say that, it's just 0, 2.5, 5, 7.5, and 0 again. That's, mines break things into chunks. ES traders have done that since the pit days. So, it tends to stay in those. So right now we're at 51. So, 50 to 52.5 is in play. If it goes below 50, then we're looking at 47.5 to 50. And so, we're, and 2 or 3 ticks either way is how I do that. So this range is too big right now to scalp. It's 55 to 49. It's probably going to go test 47.5 here in a second. And so, and it's not going down with enough momentum to be short. So the scenario here is if we can tighten the range up and stay near the lows, then a long looks interesting again. In other words, if this low can hold. But at 50, it's a little too far away from the volume at 46 for me to get too interested yet. But there we're going up. So that's my premise is working. And now we cleared 52.5. So the next one up will be 55. And here it comes. There's 54. It works like this all the time. It's more predictable at night and before regular trading hours open. And a lot of the algorithms get going that like to move the price back and forth a lot. And, 8 tick dances, but that's still tradable, again, as long as you focus on. So the answer to your question, Lance, is I'm looking at the ratio between the very short-term range, whatever it is. There's no magic amount. This LRC is showing me a couple of minutes of 5-second bars, and we're going, what people would say sideways. We're ebbing and flowing in a very tight range. So this is a really cool little range. If this were to hold, I'd be interested in trading it. But since the session range is 80 points already, I'd be concerned that this range isn't going to hold because it's just too small a percentage of the overall total right now. If it does, it's really, really, sorry, my little personal reminders there. If it does hold, it's really gameable because it's just going back and forth here. So far, we haven't broken 47.5 and we haven't broken 55. And we may not till the open. Look at the volume that's forming there too. I suspect we'll fill in this volume here to 60 pretty quick. And it's just going to kind of do that, and form some sort of value here as the book fills in a little bit more. There's 55. So, and look at that. A second 55 went, we traded 57. That break the ES into 4 chunks, the quarters, 0, 0, 2.5, 5, 7.5, 0, 0 again. If you can keep it within one block of that, you've got a tradable range. Unfortunately, this one is right there now, and it, obviously it looks like it wants to break. So, This would be hard to trade, but my bias here would be to buy it long, not to be shorting it, but you can't be long here. You got to be long, 49 would have been an interesting spot to nimble. But again, the risk there to 46 made that not asymmetric. So, and, typically as we get closer to the open, we might see some more price discovery. We still have, about 45 minutes till the regular trading hours open. And that's a time I generally don't look for ranges because the market kind of does this exploration thing. It's doing this price discovery. The best range of the day is the initial balance after the first hour, because that one you can always play. And if the initial balance ends up being relatively tight, so again, this is that dynamic range stuff. If we get an initial balance that's, only 10 or 20 points wide and the Globex at that point is, 80 like it is now or 90, that's real tradable because, we found the value. So hopefully that makes some sense. There's some good videos on that in the library. Let's see. Good question. I'm not sure I'm going to get your name right. Let me try here. Is Trevon? Trevon, tell me if that's right. Yeah, not the best condition for newbies. Absolutely. It's the kind of thing where these are really good conditions to learn. And if you have any sort of edge, try some of the evaluations. And so you can really feel like what it's like to trade under these conditions. We just swept, by the way, again, from 57 to now we're on the 60 quarter. And this goes on all the time. But, if it's not predictable enough in one direction, and if you're getting sweeps in the other direction, like we just saw here from 60 back to 57, you really have to be careful scalping that because you can just end up on the wrong side really quickly. And then, all those little $50 you made are gone, and that's the danger. That's the mistake that new people make, Trevon, is they have an edge and they can see, yeah, I can scalp this. And, then their ego gets big and they end up with too much size and they're offsides and boom. And, a week's worth of profits are gone. And that's the key. You can't let that happen. You have to just take the setups, read the price action and stay right in the now. We call it RFN, right fracking now in TRG because, that for scalping, that's critical. We also have folks that are structural traders that, just look at the initial balance and do 1 or 2 trades a day based on that. And that approach also works really well. And if you can kind of combine the two, some real short-term price action for good entries, and then take advantage of some of the bigger opportunities the structure of the day presents, that's the golden goose. That's the perfect combination. So look at this right now. We cleaned up that low perfectly. So, 6 by 0, basically there was, all the sellers down there ran out of gas and it got bought up and we headed back up. So, and then look at the other end of that same, when the news came out, we swept down a lot. There was a lot of stops that got ran. So that is an interesting spot to revisit up there at 75. So it's kind of, setting up for an interesting day. And on that note, our regular TRG morning trading setups meeting starts in 10 minutes. So I'm going to say right now something we say in TRG, burning desires. If you have any questions or comments you have to get off your chest or you would love me to answer, you now have 5 minutes to do it. And then we will be wrapping up. So I will, burning desires going once, and then I will do that one more time, and then we will wrap up in about 4 minutes. So if you have questions, please post them. If you have a follow-up question. Yes, sir.
Ed, one quick suggestion while you're answering that question maybe is, do you want to bring up the education page for the benefit of those who just see this on the recording so they know where to go if they want to check out the free course?
Oh, yeah, let's do that. So here, let me just click on your link. That'll get me there faster.
Oh, yeah. There you go.
It is. Okay, so this, if you click on that link, which is here, tradingresearchgroup.com education, there's tools of the trade that's free. You can just click on that and take that course, and that will explain a lot of the stuff I'm talking about. The tools that we use in TRG are about order flow and price action, and we put together a really interactive, fun, cool free course. So check it out. And, you can learn a lot more detail about this that'll be much faster than Q&A here. And you can always come back at us with questions. The other thing I just want to mention, just as, this is a preview of, let me get back to the homepage, the Scalpathon, which is a live training session on this that I'm going to be doing starting on 27th February, which is a Sunday. And we're going to go throughout the week and look at trading at night, trading oil, trading the open, trading the reopen on Sundays, trading the close on a Friday. We're going to do NFP again, like we just did. So it's a whole week of that, really intensive, with courseware around all the live sessions. So I'll be presenting material as we're doing the live sessions, and there'll be a PowerPoint that goes with that with a lot more detail as well. And if you take the free courses that I just showed you the link of, you can get a discount on this, get $200 off. So check that out. I don't want to make this into a big advertisement, so that's there. And the link is in the chat there. JVC could post it one more time. That will. So thank you. That was a good suggestion. Now let's see. Oh, I'm sorry to hear about the midlife crisis, but glad to hear you've been doing good in your trading summer. I'm just catching up on your comment there. Okay, let's see. I'm sorry, I'm just scanning here. Let's see, we were talking to Trevon. Okay, so I think I answered.
He's got a really good follow-up.
Yeah, I see a question follow-up. Okay, what do I recommend for someone that works a regular day job? Are you, in terms of contracts and sessions, so clarify for me, where are you working? Are you working in Asia or London, or are you working in the US and you want to trade Asia or London or the overnights? You work here at US. Okay. I'm of the view that you can trade the US equities overnight. I do it all the time. In some ways, Trevon, it's easier because there's less nonsense. You know, the guys running big algorithms can't do it at night to the same extent because there's not enough volume. And, you know, the whole idea for algorithms is predictability, right? It's math. So I think there's a lot of them, but let me put that schedule back up real quickly. And that'll give me a chance to answer your question real directly. So if you look at the schedule, which is on the homepage for the Scalpathon, which just click on this top thing. Okay, this right here, let me blow that up so we can all see it a little better. All right, so Sunday night, the Globex reopen is one of my favorite times to trade. And I often trade early in the morning of Monday. So depending on the job you have and the kind of job, you know, and what time you get up, you know, you can often do an hour before you go to work. You know, I don't know what time zone you're in and whatnot. But the other thing, you know, Europe is a really good trade in the U.S. pre-open. So, you know, as we're kind of watching what's going on in Europe and we're digesting what's going on in Asia. So those are really good opportunities. And I'm going to talk about that in a couple of different sessions. This CL midnight oil trade, which we're going to do on the 1st. And again, this is Central Time, 4 to 7 a.m. So convert to whatever time zone you're in. That's a really good trade in oil and gold because there's a lot of action in the Middle East and in Asia, particularly in oil. There's a lot of individuals that have a lot of money that love to scalp oil. So the oil market is a fun one. And in fact, the first trade we do in TRG, which comes up in 7 minutes, is the oil A period trade, which is the pit opening of oil. And that's at 6 a.m. my time, which is coming up very, very soon. So good question. Really good question. And there's a lot. Don't believe that you can't trade the U.S. markets at night. Crap. That's total crap. I do it all the time. And like I said, in some ways, it's easier. And there's a few TRG members that I know agree. I think Jeff has had some experience that way. I know a few others have. So cool, Trevon. Okay. I have to get us close to wrapping up here because I'm doing the live session in 6 minutes. And
I got to bounce.
Yeah, we both got to bounce. So anyway, if you have any other questions, feel free to sign up for the class, and that'll put you in a stream in our community called The Pit, and you can post questions there. And again, you don't have to buy anything to do that. So by all means, you know, take the free class and learn, you know, about order flow. It's a really cool way to trade the market. It gives you definable edges. And that's rare. You know, it's not about when the indicator turns green, I buy, or when it turns red, I sell. You know, it's telling you what you're looking for, like that unfinished business trade that we saw, and why, you know, that was a potential place to either go short or long, and the long, you know, worked. Hell, if I can make $100 in 5 minutes in 2 trades, and you know, do that a couple times a day, that's a nice amount of money. And when the market's quieter, you know, instead of trade 1, trade 5. You know, it scales perfectly, as long as you've got, you know, the account size to offset the risk. All right, last chance. Burning Desires going twice. Your last chance to ask questions. Thank you, Summer. Great feedback. I appreciate it. I guess, once again, thank you for joining us. I hope it was entertaining and or educational. And make sure you check out the free class. And if you have any questions, post them in the free class stream, and we'll try to answer them for you.
Yep. And most of you are probably also in the Facebook group already, because that's probably how you saw this in the first place, and maybe someplace else. But if you're not in the Facebook group, come join us, Volume and Order Flow Traders. And if you are in the Facebook group and you want to ask any more questions, you can ping me, you can ping Jeff, you can ping Lee, you can post publicly, do whatever you need.
Yep. All right. Thanks again, guys. I will see everyone in TRG in about 4 minutes. I'm going to do stuff I need to do real fast, and I'll see you then. Thank you, guests, for joining us. The recording will be up, and you will get an email about where you can see it.
Yep.
About a day or so for the recording, 24 hours typically. Thank you.